everybody. In today's podcast, we're going to talk about how to actually keep your healthy lifestyle resolutions and why the fitness industry is partially to blame for you not being able to do it in the past. Stay tuned. Have you ever wished you could eavesdrop on a conversation with a millionaire? My name is Michelle Thompson. I'm a retired project controls engineer and business professor, and that's exactly what I'm going to do in this podcast. I get to ask the questions that everyone else wishes they could. I'm going to find out exactly how they were able to build their empires through automation and outsourcing. And I'm going to break it down in a way that helps you build your business to run on autopilot. Don't miss out on Automate to Dominate. All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome. Today we have Luc DePron, and he is the owner of Live Great Lifestyle Coaching, and he is the host of the Live Great Lifestyle podcast. So Luc specializes in an exercise philosophy based on minimal effective dose, which he's going to explain to us today. He's perfected his method while getting his kinesiology degree at Illinois State University and while working with Olympic athletes at a practice in San Diego, California, where he currently resides. Luc has numerous clients with incredible success stories, and I'm super excited to interview him today. Luc, welcome, and thank you for taking the time to chat today.
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing me on. It's always fun and obviously a good time to talk health and fitness here in January 2nd. So yeah, thanks.
Absolutely, absolutely. And, with the New Year's, everyone seems to have these resolutions to live a healthier lifestyle, but most rarely actually accomplish their resolutions. And I think in part that might be because a lot of people don't make smart, actionable goals that go along with their resolutions. Could you talk to us just a little bit about some steps that we could make to make these resolutions actionable for us?
Sure. And I'm going to obviously stay in my wheelhouse on the fitness and lifestyle side of things. So honestly, I think there's like a multi-pronged problem here. Obviously, like you said, smart goals are great. Having something that's tangible and trackable, measurable makes a lot of sense. So I do think that's a piece of it. I think the fitness industry is at fault for another kind of prong in that I think people's expectations of what it takes to get healthy and fit is skewed. So their approach oftentimes is misguided. And then unfortunately, it's not going to last. So a great example would be right now, there's going to be all sorts of on social media things going around like, 21-day challenges, these really extreme, whether it's boot camp and all this good marketing stuff, but it's not really great strategy for long-term results. And so what I see oftentimes is people with really great intentions may be misled a little bit through the industry and they hit burnout. It's something that their schedule can't allow, and then they quit. And then, of course, the third prong is you have to enter it with the correct mindset. So I do think it's like a multi-pronged problem, but it's huge, right? Because this is the time of year where it's going to be the number one goal, I think, across the world, or at least the United States, is to solve a weight and health and fitness issue. And the majority of people aren't going to solve it, which is really sad to me because it's something that should be inherent to us as human beings. We are meant to be vibrant, healthy, fit. That should be the default state, not the other way.
Right.
So yeah, setting smart goals, and I think giving yourself a little bit of leeway and forgiveness that it's not going to be perfect. You're going to miss a workout. You're going to cheat on your diet. You're going to mess up. There is no messing up. The only messing up is not continuing.
And I think that's so important because I think, at least me personally, I tend to be like so hard on myself that, if I fall off the wagon, then I'm just beating myself up instead of just, okay, no big deal, start again,
Yep.
And I think that's one of the things that you talk about, like even in your Facebook posts and stuff, you're like, I think the greatest post I read from you was like, I hope you guys ate everything disgusting on Thanksgiving that was horribly bad for you. And I was like, yes, that's so awesome.
Yeah, and obviously I'm being a bit facetious, but like, let's be honest, like that 1-2 days, whatever it's going to be, it's not going to make or break you. Having pie on Thanksgiving, if that's what, lights you up because your grandma made it and there's this nostalgia to it, like have the pie on Thanksgiving. Like these are minor things. And this is, again, the kind of all or nothing approach that I do see as a fail point for a lot of people, where most people are not all or nothing. and they tell themselves they are, and then they can't be all, so then it becomes nothing. When the reality is moderation, which is far less sexy and less marketable, that's kind of the path, right? Like we don't hear about, it's not cool to brag up about your 3 to 4 day a workout week that you've been doing for the last year, but you're going to hear all about the 45-day challenge that somebody's done. And we have to steer people back to, again, more longer term consistency. And when you do that, you can have the freedom to go, I don't know if I can swear, but mess up on,
Yeah.
on the holidays, right? So whatever that looks like to you, whether that's, having excessive alcohol on your birthday, like you can get away with some of this stuff when you're in it for the long haul.
Right. And I think that's just a personal example. I know I decided, I was athletic in college, and then I kind of got out of college and got into the business world and took a job, at a desk where you sit all day, and, all of a sudden you get the secretary spread and you're like, what in the world, where did this happen? So I was like, all right, I am going to do P90X. It's going to be awesome, and so, I started and I made it like 2 weeks, and I was like, I suck. I can't do this, and so I just quit. And then, literally waited like 2 more years to start again. And now, exactly what you said, it's all about the non-sexy stuff, right? So
yeah.
And you said you call yourself the anti-fitness industry fitness guy. Why is that?
It's funny. So, I host this podcast, The Live Great Lifestyle, and obviously, it's meant to support, my clients, support me from obviously a business marketing standpoint. But ultimately I'm looking to, help level up people's lives in this area of health, fitness, business, lifestyle. And the thing I talk the least about on there, or bring people on the least to talk about, is fitness, because to be honest, it's really simple. It doesn't need to be this complicated thing. So when I think of the fitness industry and like my place in it, I've went to school for kinesiology. I've been in this industry in multiple different ways as far as where I've worked and the clients. But as far as like the guy, like I just got my first Lululemon last year, right? Like as far as like being the guy who's going to get up on stage.
I don't even know what that is. What's a Lululemon?
Well, if you're in California, literally every person strapped in spandex wearing, it's a workout pant. It started as yoga. Yeah.
Okay.
And, it's like I work out on my deck. I don't even go to a gym. I haven't been to a gym in like 2 years at this point, because for me, it's more of a meditative, like alone time. And so when I look at the state of the fitness industry and what most people's expectation of what they have to do, I don't really fit that. Like I have no desire personally, and I'm not ragging on anyone who does this, who wants to go get on stage, paint themselves orange and flex. Like that's strange to me. But I go do jujitsu and roll around and wrestle with strangers, right? And sweat all over random people that I don't know. So to each their own.
The only time when it's okay to have your head in somebody else's butt and it's fine.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Jujitsu, right? Yeah.
Jujitsu.
So, yeah. So, when I look at like this, again, the state of the industry, or I think when you are on the outside looking in, if you're somebody who's trying to improve your health and fitness, and you look at what you think it takes, and you're scrolling an Instagram feed of a fitness model or a fitness professional, it's like their entire life is fitness. And to me, it doesn't have to be that. It should really be a highlight to all of the other things that you do care about, whether it's as your family, your kids, your job. So that's more of how I'm integrating with it. Again, it's not knocking on any of those people. Like I think it takes extreme dedication and focus to go get up on a stage, but it's not a requirement. And the actions to get there, as far as the level of dieting, the level of exercising, that's not necessary to get what 90% of people want, which is to feel freaking awesome, to have energy, to have a physique they like. You can get there without having to go down this path where you just live, breathe, eat, and the only thing you're thinking about is working out. It doesn't have to be that way.
Right. And so what about the normal people? Like, I'm a business owner, and, my goal is to become a healthier version of me. And, give me your 2 greatest tips that you can help busy business owners fit a healthy lifestyle into life, right? Because that's not the easiest thing to do when you're like, feel like it's 24/7 all about your business.
Sure. Yeah. And this is a tough one, right? Like these are the kind of questions where people are looking like, hey, what's the tip? What's the hack? What's the
magic bullet?
Yeah. Right. And There isn't, even though I think I have a simplified approach to conquering this. So I'll start it with this. The first is it really does start with the mindset. And, I have a whole little video series on this, but it starts with, are you approaching it from a growth mindset? We need to then develop and anchor in what I call a big why, a big driver to help you as ultimately go through what is going to be a growth process. You stepping into a new version of yourself, because the version of you now might not be the version that can get where you want to go, as far as maybe we don't make the right nutrition choices. So we're ultimately trying to kind of reframe and create a new identity. That identity doesn't have to go to the extreme of, I'm going to be on stage and paint myself orange. But if we start to think of ourselves as maybe the fit business owner, now when we're out at a business meeting, it's very different when everyone else orders, fried mozzarella sticks and chicken tenders versus you making a more sensible choice. And when we start to work on the mindset, that kind of gets the ball rolling to where now whatever the barrier is, or whatever the thing that we need to deal with to integrate, we have the capacity to do it. And until that's done, no hack, no tip will really get integrated. So that's the first piece I would say is, you have to get that mindset in the right space. And then the second would be, again, I'm kind of going to stay in the head and say, practice this level of forgiveness or this level of moderation, and understand your life, if you are an entrepreneur or a business owner, is very different than other people, even somebody who has a 9-to-5 job. I know entrepreneurs and business owners kind of rag on 9-to-5 people, but there's a consistency and a rhythm to that, to where it actually gets very easy to go to the job or to go to the gym if you know your schedule each week. But for an entrepreneur, it oftentimes can be quite volatile. There's seasons to your business. So what I would say is actually to condense down and this is how I actually coach my clients, is to condense down the time frame that you're looking at and commit to a minimum standard workout that you guarantee that you will commit to. There's no business meeting that could come up. There's nothing that could throw you off from this guaranteed minimum standard, and reassess that every week to 2 weeks if that's what it's going to take for you to hold the line, because things are going to shift. So that flexibility I think is really important, which is kind of works against a lot of business owners' mindset who are a little bit more type A and like everything systematized. And it's like, hey, this is life. It's not going to always be that way.
Right. Yeah, I tend to lean towards the type A personality, right? Where it's going to be this, and then things blow up, and you're like, okay, plan B.
Yeah, and that's where the fall off happens, right? And so that personality type, which has served you well in business, personally, I don't have it. I'm like a tornado moving forward, making progress, right? I'm all over, but I'm making progress. So for me, I have that fluidity and flexibility kind of innately in my personality to shift things around. So I don't even, if you said, Luke, what's your workout schedule, your workout program? It's like, I don't know. I'm making it up as I go. But for somebody who is a little bit more type A, that's going to feel really maybe incongruent. And you got to kind of recognize that when these things rear up, you didn't fall off, you just made adjustments along the way.
That's a really good way to look at it, and give yourself a little bit of grace to just kind of get back on the horse. And it's all about, for me anyway, time blocking, right? So if I look ahead and I know I've got a launch coming up and life's going to be like crazy, then okay, maybe it's 20 minutes instead of 40 minutes, or so for the next 2 weeks, and then I go back and look again, kind of a deal. Yeah. Awesome.
And that keeps you in the game, right? That's, everybody's heard the done beats perfect mantra, but that holds true here as well. That scaling that back and getting that in 20 minutes a day, that's a win compared to, oh man, it's not perfect, all or nothing, quit.
Right. And it seems like, even if it's only 20 minutes, if I manage to, take those 20 minutes and work on my body, it almost always goes into my food regimen as well. I almost always make healthier food choices, because I'm like, oh geez, I didn't work out for 20 minutes for nothing. I'm not going to go blow it on 2 cheeseburgers, right?
Yeah.
So it's amazing how it kind of all intertwines, just like that mindset that you were talking about.
Yeah. So I think of this as, and talk of this as lead dominoes. So what's the lead domino that you can set up that's going to connect other behaviors? And you're right. If you if you get a workout in, you're more inclined to make a good, hopefully nutritious choice later, because you don't want to waste all that hard work. So what's the lead domino that you have to set up? Maybe it's mobility work for somebody, right? Because they know if they're feeling they're more mobile, they'll actually go do the workout. Or for somebody else, it might be they have to focus on the nutrition as the lead domino, because they know if they're eating well, the exercise behavior tends to follow. So that's a really key one to kind of reflect on and figure out what's a lead domino for you that's going to inspire some other healthy behaviors.
So this is a bonus question.
Bonus.
Bonus questions. Yay. So I saw on your website you have, is it called Active Greens?
Mm-hmm. Athletic greens.
Athletic greens. So is that, is that like an easy step that will maybe set somebody up to maybe, just set that domino right in place and help them? They've already started with a healthy shake in the morning. Does it continue through? Have you found that pattern?
Yeah, I think it could be for the right person. With all supplements, people have to understand it is a tool and it does nothing special outside of it just allows for ease of use. So that athletic greens, I personally use when I'm traveling, if there is a level of debauchery taking place, meaning my sleep is poor, my nutrition's not going to be ideal, there's going to be alcohol involved. So this last week I was just traveling, so we can go into this. I think you have a question coming up around this. And so for me, I'll do double doses of that with fish oil. And I find that helps me kind of get through being run down and not taking care of myself, as I'm somebody who very easily can suffer from bronchitis if I get run down. And I found that really is helpful. Now, all it's doing is bringing in a condensed version of phytonutrients and minerals. So all things that we should aspire to get through actual whole foods. But if you're not having access to them, you're traveling, again, you're a business person who's traveling, you're sleeping in hotels and your sleep's off. It's an easy way, I think, to pound in some phytonutrients, but don't let marketing of any supplement convince you it's anything more than that tool.
Okay. That's really, really good information, because you're right. Like, everybody's so good at marketing. You're just like, oh, I want to do that,
Here's one of my favorite ones when it comes to supplements, as far as that, where it's amazing how many people are going to take a supplement because they think it's going to help them lose weight when you're actually adding in calories. Like that doesn't.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense. I'm going to eat this, which has calories. It's going to make me lose. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. Okay. I never really thought of it like that, but that's a really good point.
Yeah. Right.
So I know you deal a lot with, you've created minimal effective dose strategies. Can you talk to us a little bit about that? What does that mean, and how does a business owner incorporate that in their life?
Yeah. So when I look at going into doing a workout, and let's talk right now, like New Year's, and let's even put a weight loss goal out there, because I think that's oftentimes what we're seeing in New Year's. So how do we achieve this goal? Well, we obviously have to be in a caloric deficit. So again, what are my minimum effective dose strategies to dealing with even the nutrition side of things? And for me, it's very simple. It's like, what are your go-to meals? And it's like, go-to meals are, and this is something all my clients, it's like, you got to craft this out. This is you, the client, not me, because this is your palate and what your desires are. But what are those go-to meals? Easy to make, foods that you enjoy, that are healthy, and can be calorically managed or adjusted as needed. So an example for me is a go-to meal, it's something I'm going to eat quite frequently, would just be a burger salad or a steak salad. I'm a red meat guy myself, but it's a giant heaping salad with a grass-fed steak on top. It's simple, it's easy. I can always have the produce in hand. So having go-to meals, but also go-to restaurants. Where in your hometown can you have access, again, to a meal that you at least have some caloric awareness or a way to measure the quantity that's healthy, that you enjoy? So for me, I use Whole Foods Hot Bar constantly. I eat this Thai restaurant like every Tuesday because I get this curry. It's made of coconut milk, beef, and tons of vegetables. Now I have some way to make, even if I just use some level of hand measuring or estimation on portion control, some way to make an adjustment. So that to me is a minimum of effective dose strategy when it comes to the nutrition. When it comes to exercise, this is the biggie. So I first think most people have a misunderstanding of what they're trying to do when they exercise. Particularly right now, most people are going to go to the gym with the goal of trying to burn calories. And truthfully, that is a slower process to getting where people want to be. To make the caloric deficit, it's far easier to do it through nutrition than it is to go and exercise those calories off, because simply your body's going to get quite efficient to do whatever activity that you choose to do. So if we are going to do minimum effective dose strategies, what should those things be? To me, it's going to be putting our focus on resistance training. And from there, we can even simplify it down quite a bit to where if you walk into any gym, there's thousands of pieces of equipment and different exercises that you could choose to do. So I always ask people, it's like, well, why would you choose one over the other? And ultimately, you should choose one over the other because it's better. Well, what makes it better? Better to me is what allows you to engage more muscle fiber at one time. So as an example, take a split squat or a lunge, as some people would think of it. If you were to do a split squat or a lunge, you're actually having to activate your core, your transverse abdominis, this deep core muscle that stabilizes your pelvis. When you lower down, you're having to work on all the little stabilizers of your foot. Your glute and your quad are all going to work. And then if you're holding dumbbells, you can even activate some of the muscles in your back around your scapula to hold your shoulders back. That is a way more effective way to target your leg than, say, if you were to sit down and do a leg extension where you just kick out your leg one at a time working that quad. So simply through smarter exercise selection, we can really bring it down to where it's like, man, I'm only using 9 to 12 probably exercises with almost all the people that I coach, because there's just exercises that are more efficient. So it really does come down to focusing on exercises that are multi-joint. So again, split squats, deadlifts, overhead presses, pull-ups, bent over rows, and then using the concept of progressive overload. And if you do that, that will allow you to get into the gym, I think 3-4 times tops, and actually see really substantial change in your body composition.
So when you say progressive overload, I'm going to tell you what I think it means, and then you can correct me.
Yeah.
So I read a book that was basically about Arnold Schwarzenegger and how he used like the minimum weight possible, and he just lifted it to the point where he couldn't even pick up a pencil anymore. And so when you say that, that's what I think of. Is that what you're talking about? Sort
of. I mean, that's a level of overload. So progressive overload is basically the idea that you're going to do more work over time. And as you do something, like let's take it down to the most simple version of it, something like a push-up. Maybe you can do 5 push-ups or 40 push-ups. Well, at some point you can do 41. Then you can do 42. So we're just progressively overloading what the system can tolerate. Now, there's different ways to do this. You could use sets, you could use reps, and you could use weight. But you can also use things like tempo. And these are easy ways to just manipulate the system so it's having a new demand placed on it. Personally, and I like to go with volume through weight, sets, and reps. Like those are going to be the first 3 to kind of manipulate for people. And what's the rate that you overload this? Well, there's different theories on this, and oftentimes it's like, well, just a little common sense goes a long way. If you're doing, say, 3 sets of 8 of something, and all of a sudden it's like, I think I could actually get 3 sets of 12, well, now we need to bring the weight up, right? So that's the idea of progressive overload. And I like to think of, each month, can you look and say you're increasing your output to some degree? You're then going to be, I think, creating that additional stimulus that creates growth.
And I know you had, I saw a couple of videos that you did that were demonstrating some of what you're talking about with these exercises and stuff. If a listener wants to find those videos, where would they go?
So the easiest place would be livegreatlifestyle.com. I actually have a video series. Again, this is something that all clientele have to kind of watch before they even go through any other exercise demonstrations. I call these key concepts. It essentially is going to put you in a position mechanically where you're going to be aligned to bring and contract the most amount of muscle with every single exercise. So key concepts, home base, whatever you want to think about it, without kind of nerding out too much. There's something called the length-tension relationship of a muscle, but each muscle will create the maximum amount of tension at a specific length. And so proper posture or the set position in the beginning helps you do that. And ultimately, going back to that minimum effective dose concept, is the goal in the gym isn't to see how many reps you can do. It's to see how much muscle fiber that you can contract with each rep. And having this good starting position is going to kind of lay the groundwork for that. So yeah, anybody who's interested in that, they can pick that up at either just livegreatlifestyle.com. It's on the webpage there.
Awesome. Okay. All right. So I'm going to throw you a curveball question that you're like, this is going to be hard to answer. But let's say, I'm super busy and I'm going to just use free weights in my garage 3 times a week. And my goal is to become stronger. I don't want to bodybuild. I just want to be a little bit healthier than I was. What's the most effective way to spend 40 minutes 3 times a week to tone and strengthen?
Well, and I would first preface with what you're doing there is no different than if you were to go to a gym. So like that's what I'm doing on my deck. I have no desire to really go to a big box gym. So don't think that if you're at home using free
There's
weights,
so much less grunting at home.
Yeah, right. You can do whatever you want to do, right? I literally work out in my underwear on my deck, and then I put on shorts to make a video to put online. So I'm like the opposite of what most people are doing on Instagram. They're getting naked or somehow. So if you're in your garage and you have access to free weights, I would suggest creating 2 to 3 circuits using 2 to 3 exercises. And again, focusing on only those most impactful exercises. And if I'm going to rattle these off quick, so somebody listening to this, you can come back because I know I talk quite fast. But things like split squats, whether it's barbell squats or even kettlebell squats, step-ups, single leg RDLs, kettlebell swings, deadlifts. That's literally, and then if you want to make it walking lunges, reverse lunges, that's literally the only leg exercises that you really would need. Then we get into the upper body, we could look at bench press, overhead pressing, pull-ups, bent over row, inverted rows, and then just a few rotational core exercises. And that could literally be it. Again, then we bring in those principles of overload where we're just trying to get more reps, more sets, more weight, some combination of that, and you're going to see improvement.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. So are we doing, if it's like 3 times, are we doing legs one day and upper body another day, or are we doing total body 3 times a week?
Yeah, great question. I would say actually full body each workout. And here's why. A split routine, like a bodybuilder, this is a great question because I was literally making this podcast on mine today to try to do a New Year's post, and I'm kind of trying to break this down, and it's way easier conversationally. So when I look at how a bodybuilder split is done, which would be, say, Monday you work your arms, Tuesday you work your legs, and so forth, that's for somebody who's looking to bring a tremendous amount of volume per muscle group because they're looking to get really big and they're already quite fit to where their musculature can handle that level of load. For most people, if you just want to be lean, healthy, and fit, you probably don't need that much volume per muscle group. If you want to look like The Rock, you got to spend way more time per muscle group overloading it to create that growth. But if you're just starting out, you'd be sore as shit. I mean, I could take somebody through a leg workout. They wouldn't be able to walk for a week. And it's like, there's no value in that. Yeah, right? There's no value in that. So I personally like full body workouts. I do like a little bit of either supersets or circuit training. So maybe we go from a split squat right into an overhead press, which is going to bring some cardio demand. And it can be as simple as creating, 2 or 3 or 3 or 4 circuits of 2 to 3 exercises.
Okay. So I'm going to jump ahead just a little bit. If somebody's listening to this and they're like, oh my gosh, this guy gets it, he's real, and he's not going to try to turn me into The Rock.
Unless you want to be.
Unless you want to be. Okay, right. Yeah, that's 2% of the world population. Okay. And
or every 22-year-old boy. Hang on.
Right. Well, that's true too. Let's say somebody would like to hire you and work with you as an online fitness coach. How do they do that? How can they do that?
Easiest way, honestly, is just shoot me an email at livegreatlifestyle@gmail.com. I'll send you a quick intake, and then we're going to hop on a call. I'm just going to see where you're at with things. I don't pressure anyone into any coaching because my coaching is quite involved. I mean, you have access to me for months on end. So it's got to be a mutually good fit on both ends. So for anybody who is maybe listening to this and is contemplating getting some assistance, which whether it's with me or another coach, I really do recommend that level of accountability. yeah, it's no big hard sales process. It's ultimately to see where are you at, like, can I really help you? And if I can, if you're really ready to do the work, because as much as I think it is simple, we're talking almost personal development, personal growth here. And you got to be ready to level up into that next version of yourself. So honestly, just livegreatlifestyle@gmail.com. Shoot me an email. We'll hop on a call, see where you're at. And if it's a fit, we'll talk about moving forward.
Okay, awesome. So I know that, at least for me, I've had several people who have been very impactful in my life. Can you think of two people that helped you become the successful person that you are today?
Yeah, and I'll keep it in this space. I have two mentors to this day that have really shaped my career. I didn't quite go into this, but I went to school for kinesiology. I worked as a personal trainer. I've worked in performance studios. Then I ended up working in a rehab studio out here. And so there's two people. Both have been on this podcast, Dr. Sean Robeck and then Jonathan Pierce. And I should give another shout out to another guy named Sam Wag, who's still in my circle. These are all friends. But working in this rehab studio under these really talented people as a quote unquote personal trainer, I kind of became the pretend physical therapist, or I was a corrective exercise specialist. And not just them themselves, but also the environment of this studio is I got access to clientele and mentorship that almost no personal trainer would ever get, because I'm working alongside, chiropractics, doctors of chiropractic and physical therapists. I'm getting to work with everybody from, guys that walk in that can barely stand up, their back's wrecked so bad. And I got to figure out, holy shit, how do I get this guy to rehab his back from a strength standpoint and a stability standpoint, teach him how to move. And the big impact with that was it radically changed how I see movement. And for quite a while, I did just corrective exercise on my own. And that was a big game changer as far as taking me from just being, I think, a dummy personal trainer that's trying to tell people you just got to move more and eat right, to really bringing some smart, tangible movement practices to people's lives.
Okay. And just so everybody knows, Luke's being a little bit modest. He's had some incredible clients. I mean, he's actually worked with several very well-known Olympic athletes. And if you check out his webpage, you can see some of the success stories there. But it's really awesome that you're able to, like you said on your webpage, deal with the guy who came in with just completely wrecked from a car wreck. Mm-hmm. And so you have to be able to work in that sphere. But then on the other side, you have this elite athlete who's, training for, triathlons in the Olympics and all kinds of crazy things, and to be able to find the fit. I think you've grasped that, which a lot of trainers aren't necessarily able to do. I think, they tend to niche down, but you literally have, by having those mentors, have been able to, change your thought process to be able to literally help anyone in the phase that they're in, start from the car wreck all the way to the Olympics, depending on where they want to go, right?
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate the compliment. And to people out there, I actually, the way I came into that studio was actually a patient. So I actually got injured exercising, compressed a disc in my back, crawled across the parking lot. I have a whole story on that on my podcast. And so I've been on the other side of it, where I've seen how problematic movement can be. And then I've even seen, and where it kind of has brought me today is I've seen that there's the lifestyle side. So again, to get an Olympic athlete to do something, it's like, that's great. I just tell them what to do. Here you go. Boom. And versus somebody else who's trying to step into it as a lifestyle. Now it's about mindset. Now it's about shifting your identity of who you think you are and helping you integrate kind of new habits. And it's a whole different game. And it's another piece that I had to solve as far as up-leveling myself as a coach. And that's its own thing. So I've got to have my hands on a lot of different pies in this industry, which has been really cool.
That's awesome. So what was the best book that you read last year?
So I don't know if I actually read this last year, but I always want to pass this one on because, again, from in my space, to help people, this is a really impactful book, and it's Dr. Dispenza's Breaking the Habit of Being You. And so having, again, shifted to more what I'm going to call the lifestyle work, the online side, because obviously, now I'm not mashing on tissue. I'm not holding people's pelvis in place while they're descending. I'm not doing corrective exercise online in that capacity. But when we're talking behavior change, and I have seen almost every person who has come in or that I've worked with that hasn't had success. This is what I mean when I say we got to be a good fit. I can see it from the outside where their struggle is going to be, because they come in, and let's just talk about somebody who's maybe overweight and dealing with some weight issues. It's a very solvable thing, but oftentimes the person who's struggling with that, they come in and they're suffering from just high levels of stress in other areas of their lives. Maybe it's rearing its head in a little bit of alcohol dependency, maybe some levels of depression. And you see that there's some challenges that they're dealing with, where it really does start with the internal environment, your emotions. You're being able to shift yourself from that negative state of whether it's a depression or anxiety into a more empowered state to where you will be able to make the healthier food choice, or where you will actually go and do the workout. And I've seen a lot of people struggle with that. And that book, Breaking the Habit of Being You, I think is a really powerful one for somebody who is maybe stuck in a disempowered state. And if you're somebody who is dealing with, like I said, if you haven't figured out the weight game and you're still struggling with that, well, maybe you do have some other areas where you need to look into. And that would be a book that I think is very helpful for reframing your biochemistry. The easiest way I can try to sum it up would be, we've all met the grumpy old man. And it's like, the grumpy old man didn't start off grumpy, but what happened is something happened and he did get grumpy. And then he stayed there long enough and it became a habit. And then eventually it became a personality trait. And now he's the grumpy old man. And I see that a lot with people that come in where it's like if I get on a call with somebody, it's like their ability to deal with low levels of stress, something that shouldn't be a big deal, takes them to a 10. And they're kind of stuck there. And until they get out of that state, it's going to be hard to integrate new habits. It's going to be hard to make the good nutrition choice. So Breaking the Habit of Being You by Dr. Dispenza, really good book.
Okay. Awesome suggestion. I love figuring out what, everybody's go-to book is, so if you were at a party and you could only bring one book that you had to exchange, that would be the book, right?
Yeah. And it's a little wooey. I mean, I'm out in California, so it's got a little woo to it, but, it comes with like a 75-minute meditation at the end to move you from these states. But, I do think it's quite powerful for the right person.
Okay. Awesome. Great recommendation. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
So fun question. If you could put anything you wanted on a billboard, what would you put on there and why?
Oh man. Well, I was going to think of something rude. Yeah.
Sure. Go ahead.
some joke, but if I were to look at what could really impact people, I think it's just empathy. When I look around at the world today and social media and politics and religion and all the crazy stuff, it's man, if everybody had higher levels of empathy, I think the world would really be a different place. But people really struggle with that one. And I think if people could just take a minute and consider the other person, I think we'd be in a different place right now. So yeah, man, empathy.
Empathy. All right. That's a great one. So what was the most delicious calorie-filled thing you ate over the holidays?
So again, I like to be transparent here and tell you, you can kind of screw off a little bit. And honestly, the further along you get in your journey of health and fitness, the more leeway you have to kind of mess around a little bit. So I just I had a friends miss from my childhood friends, 7 of us that I've known since kindergarten. We all got together in the Midwest after Christmas for 2 days. So I I drank 300 beers in 2 days, I feel like.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't know. No, I mean, I drank a lot of Modelo's in 2 days. So that would be the big one.
Why Modelo?
So I actually, I get a histamine reaction to wheat. So I have found that as a beer that doesn't create that. Again, coupled with high levels of fish oil, high levels of athletic greens, I can kind of power through 2 days of complete debauchery, get back here, and then I personally I won't drink this January. I like to take that one off. I don't drink on New Year's Eve because I like to wake up Jan 1 and feel good. But I tell people it's not out of like, I already did the debauchery. So for me, it would have been beer. But there was one really good little dessert I had, and it was like somebody brought, like that platter of assorted like Christmas cookies. And it was, I literally, I'm like, I don't even know how you make this, but I think it was like brownie batter dipped in chocolate. So, like if you were like to bite into a chocolate and has caramel, imagine now it's got like brownie batter in there. I mean, it was one where I popped one of those in. I was literally, whoa, like that was good.
All right, I got to get me some of these.
Yeah. So fortunately, I figured that had weed in it. I had to stay away. So that kind of kept me honest. But yeah, the big one would have been excessive amounts of beer for 2 days.
All right. And Modelo, not Blue Moon. Got it.
Yeah. No, Blue Moon would wreck me. I'd be sneezing up a storm. Yeah. That's actually how I figured it out, was through beer when I was young.
That's funny. Ironically, I'm allergic to blue cheese. It's like I'm not allergic to cheese, but it makes my nose itch for like an hour. But I love this stuff, so I just keep it.
Oh, I was going to say that's good because it smells terrible. I don't know how anybody eats that.
It does. It smells like feet. It really does. But
yeah, what's wrong with you? You seem so normal until now.
Right. Well, this has been a blast. Is there anything that you wanted to maybe go back to that we were chatting about?
Not off the top of my head. I think I would just, always parting words to people is staying on the long haul. And again, it's the only two things that are marketable and sexy are extreme, intense exercise. Like the P90X, which is a less efficient way of getting the end result. Or the flip side is a complete bullshit scam that looks really lucrative with all the testimonials. And I would even highlight an article I wrote for the Huffington Post that it's called The Shocking Truth About Before and After Transformation Photos. And I'll be posting this on my social here just to kind of reaffirm this for people that there is no quick fix, but the reality is this. Hate to use the word moderation, but again, 3 to 4 workouts each week with somewhat healthy, nutritious whole foods. It's like your body can radically change. You'll feel way different, and it's something that you can actually sustain in the long haul. So stick to it in the long haul. Don't fall for the gimmicks, and don't think you got to go do something crazy intense.
Yep, all about sustainability and consistency. So
absolutely,
I think that's probably like the best thing that anybody could say is if you can just do the little things every day, they turn into huge things, right?
Yep. So. Yeah, and it's just installing these different things. And again, I would say get some accountability, whether that's like a coach like myself or even like an accountability buddy. That is useful. If you're somebody who is a self-starter, I do have a full course where I bring all the workouts, all the mobility work, all the recipes, and a lot of the mindset stuff and a lot of the lifestyle tips. I've got it all packaged in, but again, it's not this 21-day course you're going to go through. This is a toolkit. I've got people that have had it for, 8 months. They still are dropping back into it, going through some videos, and it's the closest thing that I was able to package up having me without me. But again, it's not this sexy 7-day sweat challenge. It's like, no, if you really want to step into it and you really want to become the guy or the gal who is somebody who's going to be healthy, fit, and show up, week in and week out in this way, this will help you install the main pillars to do that.
Awesome. Well, Luke, hey, thank you so much for your time and for all the knowledge bombs that you dropped. And I just want to, one more time for everybody, so don't forget that you can connect with Luke on his website at livegreatlifestyle.com. And on there is also livegreatlifestyle@gmail.com if you want to get a hold of him to do some training and work with him. And other than that, we will see you guys next time. Thank you so much.
Hey, I appreciate you bringing me on. This was fun.
Yeah. Thank you for tuning in to the Automate to Dominate podcast at www.awesomeoutsourcing.com/podcast. My name is Michelle Thompson.